bees, we know them as curious friends, often thought of as pests, that join us on our summer activities looking to share our sweets. They are naturally curious creatures determined to meet the working goals for their hive. Working bees buzz from flower to flower, their jobs at the forefront of their mind. For bees, they pollinate within the process of producing food for the hive. The effects of this pathway to pollination creates agricultural diversity for the benefit of plants, animals, and humans alike. We would lose a third of our natural food sources, plants, and other produce we enjoy and need for survival if bees became extinct. This reality is not far off, as bees are in extreme danger. Climate change, which includes habitat fragmentation, increasing temperatures, and diseases, have been attributed to their demise. Bees are known as the most efficient pollinators of various crops and wild plants that are not wind-pollinated due to their fuzzy bodies and regular, reliable flower visiting habits. When a bee collects nectar from a flower, some pollen from the stamens, the flower's male reproductive organ, sticks to its body hairs. This pollen is then rubbed off on the stigma of the pistil, the flower's female reproductive organ, as the bee visits the next flower. Fertilization and the development of a fruit with seeds is possible when this process occurs. When this pollination happens across the world by millions of bees, this process leads to agricultural diversity. Agricultural diversity is integral to the production of food, as well as the development of varied genetics that protects crops against pests and diseases, and also allows for newly established variants of produce. Without bees, we would have much more to worry about than losing honey. We would lose a third of our natural food sources, plants, and other produce we love and need for survival. Bees are in danger, and as they are the biggest contributor of pollination across the globe, humans must take measures to enforce their protection. Their decline has been attributed to climate change, and it is our responsibility to stop the process as soon as possible. Our quality of life would look drastically different without bees, and populations are already dwindling. Think back to when you were younger. There were certainly more bees around. Today, they are rarely seen. Now think about how few flourishing areas of flowers and plants there are. This is most certainly not a coincidence. Most factors of climate change that are attributed to the demise of bees occur in a domino effect, which is difficult to pinpoint and stop. These effects of climate change primarily include increasing temperatures, habitat loss, and disease. Because of land use and deforestation, bees are left with minimal food sources. Hives without proper nutrition die due to disease, most commonly colony collapse disorder, which affects over 50% of the United States. Another destructive disease that affects bees is known as Mycema apis. This parasite is a long-established pathogen of the honeybee and often causes dysentery, reducing the lifespan and repopulation of bees. Warming temperatures can cause temporal inconsistencies between bees and the food that they eat. That means if a bee hatches too early in the spring, it may go without food for the first few days or few weeks of its life, particularly if there's a warm period followed by a cold snap. Weather that affects bees' food supplies puts them at an even greater disadvantage. Too dry weather can harm flowers, a vital food source, reducing the amount of nectar available for harvest. Since nectar gets diluted after rain, honeybees aren't drawn to such flowers. When the weather is too wet or too dry, food and their efforts to find food is difficult for a bee, especially when the climate is constantly changing. Additionally, when the weather warms, the queen lays her eggs that increases the number of workers. A blast of cold air at this time would prevent the bees from harvesting and replenishing the rapidly depleting honey stores for the colony's growing needs. The life of bees is directly affected by the temperatures around them and their environment. Human land use has forced bees out of their natural environment. Bee habitats are lost as a result of urbanization and suburban development, which isolates and fragments the land that bees are trying to survive in. This entails food sources, hive security, as well as the future of genetic populations. This fragmentation limits gene flow between populations, resulting in a reduction of genetic diversity in some bee species. Bees find it more difficult to find mates, find enough nesting sites, and consume enough food while they are dispersed. Bees are so important, yet are rarely considered as such. For those at home, it is easy to do your part in helping save these important pollinators. You can look into bee-friendly flowers like lavender, purple coneflower, or black-eyed Susans. For an even easier solution, leave your dandelions alone for the bees. You can also plant bee-friendly herbs and produce at home, or even purchase organic produce without pesticides. These are all big helps. Something else that can be done for bees is supporting small businesses that help bees, like local apiaries. You can purchase honey, honeycomb, beeswax, and more from local apiaries and beekeepers to support their hives. which are often rescued from disease, collapse, or extermination. Beekeeping helps bee populations avoid colony collapse disorder and death as they are supported by humans. Most importantly, know the difference between bees and other bugs that sting. Bees only sting out of protection, and they die soon after they sting. They are just curious, driven, and want to share your food with the hive. Do not kill them on sight. They are far too important. This difference is also notable for the hives of different species. Bees build honeycomb hives, and wasps build paper-like domes. Knowing this difference can help you determine what measures to take to protect your home, as well as the bees' homes. There are different measures to take between removing wasps and bees, or you can call a local beekeeper to come out and extract the hive to help these critical pollinator populations. Remember, be friendly and take all the extra effort you can to help our bees fight climate change with us.